The edge of extinction. Commander Isabella Rodriguez stood at the viewport of the ESS Hyperion, Earth's flagship, watching the last remnants of humanity's defense fleet gather near Mars' orbit. The year was 2157, and after centuries of wondering if we were alone in the universe, humanity had received its answer in the most devastating way possible. The Nexus Collective, a civilization so advanced they considered faster-than-light travel as primitive as humanity viewed stone tools, had arrived at the edges of our solar system 6 months ago. Their message was simple: species that hadn't achieved quantum consciousness were a threat to universal harmony and needed to be eliminated. Isabella's dark eyes reflected the distant gleam of Earth, a blue marble that seemed impossibly fragile from this distance. Her hands, calloused from years of military service, gripped the railing as she reviewed their situation for the 100th time. The fleet had lost every engagement with the collective so far. Their quantum-based shield simply couldn't be penetrated by any weapon in humanity's arsenal. Commander, Lieutenant Raj Kumar's voice broke through her thoughts. The collective's fleet has been detected passing Neptune's orbit. Initial count shows 27 vessels, including 3 of their Worldkiller-class ships. Isabella nodded, her jaw tightening. The Worldkillers were massive vessels capable of inducing stellar collapse in a planet's core. They'd already demonstrated this capability on several of humanity's outer colony worlds, the loss of life numbering in the millions. Status of the civilian evacuation, she asked, though she already knew the answer. Earth's population of 11 billion couldn't possibly be evacuated in time, even if they had somewhere to go. 17% of critical personnel have been relocated to the deep space bunkers, Commander. The rest. Raja's voice trailed off. Isabella turned from the viewport, facing the bridge crew. Each face showed the same mixture of determination and fear she felt in her own heart. They were about to make humanity's last stand, armed with weapons that might as well have been slingshots against their enemy's defenses. "Open a channel to all ships," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. As the communications officer complied, she took a deep breath. "This is Commander Rodriguez. By now you've all seen the reports. The collective is approaching with enough firepower to end our species. Their quantum shields have proven impenetrable to every weapon we've thrown at them." She paused, looking at each crew member in turn. But humanity didn't get this far by giving up when the odds seemed impossible. Every major advancement in our history came when we were backed into a corner. Now we're in the tightest corner we've ever faced, and I believe we're about to make our greatest advancement yet. The bridge crew straightened in their seats, drawing strength from her words. Isabella continued, "We've analyzed every engagement, every scrap of data. There's something we're missing, some weakness we haven't found yet. The collective thinks they're superior because they've mastered quantum mechanics, but they've forgotten something fundamental about the universe. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective." As if in response to her words, a priority message flashed across her console. It was from the Jupiter mining colony, marked urgent and encrypted with the highest security protocols. As she read the message, her eyes widened, and for the first time in months, a smile crossed her face. "New orders," she announced. "All ships are to fall back to the Jupiter defense line. We're about to change the rules of this fight." The message contained detailed sensor readings from a mining accident, or rather, what had appeared to be an accident at first. A massive industrial mining hammer, designed to break up ice asteroids, had malfunctioned during a collective scout ship's pass through the system. The hammer had struck the scout ship's quantum shields, and gone right through them. As the fleet began its tactical withdrawal, Isabella opened a private channel to the mining colony's chief engineer, Marcus Sullivan. His rugged face appeared on her screen, excitement barely contained behind his professional demeanor. "Tell me everything," Isabella commanded. "How did your mining equipment penetrate their shields?" Sullivan's response would change the course of human history. "Commander, it's not about how advanced the technology is. It's about how their shields work. They're designed to stop energy weapons, quantum attacks, even conventional explosives. But they never considered defending against something as simple as a really big hammer. The edge of extinction was about to become the edge of innovation, and humanity was about to remind the galaxy that sometimes the oldest solutions were still the best ones. The mining colony's gift. The Jupiter mining colony was never meant to be humanity's last hope. Carved into the ice moon of Europa, its massive industrial complexes were designed to extract rare minerals from the moon's subsurface ocean, not wage war against an advanced alien civilization. But Chief Engineer Marcus Sullivan had always believed that necessity was the mother of invention, and right now, humanity's necessity was dire indeed. He stood in the colony's main hangar bay, watching as teams of engineers swarmed over the massive mining vessels, converting them from peaceful industrial tools into humanity's first line of defense. The centerpiece of their efforts was the colony's flagship mining vessel, soon to be rechristened as the Thunder Child. The quantum resonance readings are off the charts, Dr. Priya Patel announced, her hands dancing over a holographic display. The theoretical physicist had arrived with Commander Rodriguez's advance team, and she'd spent the last 48 hours helping Sullivan's engineers understand exactly why their mining equipment had proven so effective against the collective's defenses. It's actually brilliant in its simplicity, Priya continued, pulling up a three-dimensional model of their mining hammer's impact against the collective's shields. Their quantum shields operate on the principle of probability manipulation. They literally shift incoming energy attacks into parallel universes where they never hit the ship. But they never considered defending against pure kinetic force. Sullivan nodded, running a hand through his graying hair. Because every other species they've encountered tried to match their level of technology. Nobody thought to just hit them really hard with something really big. The hangar bay shook as another test firing commenced. They'd modified one of their smaller mining hammers, originally designed for breaking up ice deposits, into what Sullivan's team had dubbed a kinetic delivery system. The prototype had already proven capable of punching through 3 meters of quantum-hardened alien alloy. Latest test results are in, called out Lieutenant Diana Walsh, the weapons specialist assigned to the project. Her dark skin was streaked with engine grease, evidence of how she'd thrown herself into working alongside the mining engineers. The impact force is consistent, but we're seeing some structural stress on the delivery mechanism. We need to reinforce the mounting brackets. Sullivan crossed to her station, examining the readouts. What if we used the same suspension system we developed for deep core extraction? It's designed to handle repeated high-impact stress. Diana's eyes lit up. That could work. We'd need to modify the hydraulic systems, but... Their discussion was interrupted by the colony's alert system. Red lights began flashing as a computerized voice announced, "Warning. Multiple collective vessels detected entering the Jupiter system. Estimated time to weapons range, 3 hours." Sullivan straightened, his expression hardening. They'd hoped for more time, but hope was a luxury humanity could no longer afford. Right, people. This is it. Diana, get those modifications started. Priya, I need final calculations on optimal impact velocities. Everyone else, you know your tasks. We've got 3 hours to turn these mining ships into the deadliest weapons humanity has ever created. The next 3 hours were a blur of activity. Engineers worked with desperate efficiency, welding new support structures and repurposing mining equipment into weapons. The colony's fabrication plants, normally used for creating replacement parts, ran at maximum capacity producing modified hammer heads and reinforced mounting systems. Commander Rodriguez arrived in the final hour, just as they were completing the modifications to Thunder Child. She stood with Sullivan in the observation booth, watching as the massive vessel underwent its final transformations. Will it work? She asked simply. Sullivan gestured to the ship's main hammer array, now bristling with additional stabilizers and targeting systems. We've basically turned it into a giant railgun that fires mining equipment. The main hammer can deliver about 50,000 tons of force in a focused impact. That's enough to crack a small moon. And you're sure their shields can't stop it? Their shields are designed to handle energy weapons, radiation, even exotic particle physics. This? He patted the window frame. This is just good old-fashioned Newtonian physics. Force equals mass times acceleration. No quantum mechanics required. Rodriguez nodded, her expression grim. We've detected 3 collective warships headed directly for the colony. Scout-class vessels, probably looking for whatever damaged their patrol ship. They don't know what we've discovered yet. Then we're about to give them one hell of a surprise. Sullivan turned to the command center's main console. All teams, report in. Are we ready to show the collective why they should have paid more attention in basic physics class? The responses came back one by one, each team confirming their readiness. Diana's voice was the last. Weapon systems are online. All kinetic delivery systems are armed and ready. We've got enough spare mining equipment loaded to hammer our way through half the collective fleet. Then it's time. Rodriguez stepped forward, addressing the assembled crews through the colony's communication system. What we do here today will determine the fate of our species. The collective thinks they're superior because they've mastered quantum mechanics. Let's show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our ability to take whatever tools we have and make them work. As the crews scrambled to their stations, Sullivan found himself remembering an old quote from his engineering professor: advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, but sometimes what you really need isn't magic, it's a really big wrench. The Thunderchild's engines roared to life, the modified mining vessel rising from its berth like a phoenix born from humanity's industrial might. They had 3 hours to turn the tide of a war that humanity had been losing for months. 3 hours to prove that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective. And Marcus Sullivan had a feeling that the collective was about to learn a very important lesson about underestimating primitive species. Commander Isabella Rodriguez stood at the viewport of the ESS Hyperion, Earth's flagship, watching the last remnants of humanity's defense fleet gather near Mars' orbit. The year was 2157, and after centuries of wondering if we were alone in the universe, humanity had received its answer in the most devastating way possible. The Nexus Collective, a civilization so advanced they considered faster-than-light travel as primitive as humanity viewed stone tools, had arrived at the edges of our solar system 6 months ago. Their message was simple: species that hadn't achieved quantum consciousness were a threat to universal harmony and needed to be eliminated. Isabella's dark eyes reflected the distant gleam of Earth, a blue marble that seemed impossibly fragile from this distance. Her hands, calloused from years of military service, gripped the railing as she reviewed their situation for the 100th time. The fleet had lost every engagement with the collective so far, their quantum-based shield simply couldn't be penetrated by any weapon in humanity's arsenal. Commander, Lieutenant Raj Kumar's voice broke through her thoughts. The collective's fleet has been detected passing Neptune's orbit. Initial count shows 27 vessels, including 3 of their Worldkiller-class ships. Isabella nodded, her jaw tightening. The Worldkillers were massive vessels capable of inducing stellar collapse in a planet's core. They'd already demonstrated this capability on several of humanity's outer colony worlds, the loss of life numbering in the millions. Status of the civilian evacuation, she asked, though she already knew the answer. Earth's population of 11 billion couldn't possibly be evacuated in time, even if they had somewhere to go. 17% of critical personnel have been relocated to the deep space bunkers, Commander. The rest. Raja's voice trailed off. Isabella turned from the viewport, facing the bridge crew. Each face showed the same mixture of determination and fear she felt in her own heart. They were about to make humanity's last stand, armed with weapons that might as well have been slingshots against their enemy's defenses. "Open a channel to all ships," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. As the communications officer complied, she took a deep breath. "This is Commander Rodriguez. By now you've all seen the reports. The collective is approaching with enough firepower to end our species. Their quantum shields have proven impenetrable to every weapon we've thrown at them. The Thunder Child moved through Jupiter's upper atmosphere like a predator stalking its prey. Commander Rodriguez stood on the bridge, transformed from a mining vessel's control center into a warship's command deck. The recycled air still carried traces of mineral dust, a reminder of the ship's original purpose. Collective vessels entering visual range, Lieutenant Diana Walsh announced from her newly configured weapons station. The mining vessel's industrial sensors, originally designed to detect valuable mineral deposits, now tracked the approaching alien warships. 3 Scout-class vessels, standard quantum shield configuration. They're running active scans of the mining colony. Rodriguez nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The collective ships were arranged in a classic search pattern, their sleek crystalline hulls reflecting Jupiter's angry red storms. They moved with the confidence of apex predators, unaware they were about to face humanity's desperate innovation. "All hands, battle stations," Rodriguez commanded. Her voice carried through the ship's retrofitted communication system, reaching every member of their hybrid crew, miners turned warriors, engineers transformed into gunners. "Remember your training. These aren't mining drills anymore." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Sullivan worked with Dr. Patel to fine-tune their makeshift weapons systems. The main mining hammer, now their primary weapon, required precise calibration to deliver maximum impact force without tearing their own ship apart. "Power distribution is holding steady," Priya reported, her fingers dancing across holographic displays showing energy flows and structural stress points. "The reinforced mounting systems are performing better than expected. We can probably push them another 15% if needed." Sullivan grunted in acknowledgement, making minute adjustments to the hydraulic systems. "Let's hope we don't need to. We've only got one shot at surprising them with this." Above them, Jupiter's massive form filled half the view screen, its swirling storms providing cover for Thunder Child's approach. Rodriguez had studied the collective's tactical doctrines, they relied heavily on their quantum technology, often neglecting basic spatial awareness. It was time to use that overconfidence against them. "Targeting solutions locked," Diana announced. "Primary hammer array charged to 80%. Secondary kinetic system standing by." She paused, a grim smile crossing her face. "They still haven't detected us. Their sensors are calibrated for energy weapons and quantum signatures. They're not looking for industrial mining equipment." Rodriguez leaned forward in her command chair, its padding still bearing the logo of Europa Mining Corporation. "Take us in, full suborbital thrust. Target the leftmost vessel. Let's show them what thunder really means." The Thunder Child's engines roared to life, pushing the massive vessel through Jupiter's upper atmosphere. Mining thrusters, designed to maintain stability during delicate extraction operations, now propelled them toward their target with devastating purpose. The first collective vessel noticed them just seconds before impact. A burst of quantum energy flickered across its shields, a defensive reaction that might as well have been tissue paper against what was coming. Primary hammer array, fire. The Thunder Child's main weapon, 50,000 tons of reinforced industrial mining equipment moving at near-relativistic speeds, struck the collective vessel's quantum shields. There was no elaborate energy discharge, no dramatic explosion. Instead, the hammer passed through the advanced defensive barrier as if it wasn't there, striking the crystalline hull with devastating force. The impact split the alien ship in half, its quantum core destabilizing in a cascade of impossible colors. The other 2 collective vessels reacted with visible confusion, their tactics designed for energy weapon exchanges proving useless against this primitive but devastating attack. "Secondary systems targeting," Diana called out, her hands flying over the modified mining controls. "Launching debris spreaders." The Thunder Child's processing equipment, converted into makeshift projectile weapons, began firing superheated mining fragments in a pattern designed to overwhelm the remaining ship's shield generators. In the engine room, Sullivan and Priya worked frantically to manage the stress on their systems. The main hammer's recoil had pushed their modifications to their limits, but the reinforced structure was holding. Primary hammer cooling cycle at 60%, Priya reported. We can fire again in 40 seconds. Rodriguez watched as the collective vessels attempted to respond. Their quantum weapons, devastating against conventional shields, dissipated harmlessly against the Thunder Child's reinforced mining hull. They simply weren't designed to handle physical impacts. They're trying to establish a quantum lock on our systems, Diana reported, a note of satisfaction in her voice. Good luck with that. Can't quantum lock a hammer. The second impact was even more devastating than the first. The Thunder Child's main hammer, now fully calibrated, struck the lead collective vessel directly in its command section. The advanced alien ship, built for quantum combat and energy weapon exchanges, crumpled like paper beneath the sheer physical force of the attack. The third collective vessel, witnessing the destruction of its companions, attempted to retreat. Rodriguez allowed herself a grim smile. Not today. Diana, show them why humanity never forgot the value of kinetic energy. The final hammer strike split Jupiter's atmosphere like a thunderbolt, living up to their vessel's namesake. The collective ship, caught in mid-quantum jump preparation, took the full force of the impact. Its quantum shields, designed to handle the most sophisticated energy weapons in the galaxy, proved useless against the simple physics of a very large object moving very fast. As the debris of the third ship scattered across Jupiter's upper atmosphere, a profound silence fell over the Thunder Child's bridge. They had just destroyed 3 advanced alien warships using modified mining equipment. More importantly, they had proven that humanity's primitive technology could triumph over quantum superiority. Status report, Rodriguez commanded, her voice steady despite the historic moment. Main hammer array at 70% capacity and cooling, Diana reported. Secondary systems fully operational. Hull integrity at 92%. We took some hits, but nothing our mining-grade armor couldn't handle. Sullivan's voice came over the comm from engineering. Commander, you need to see these readings. When our hammer hit their quantum shields, it didn't just break through, it completely disrupted their quantum field stability. We've just proven their entire defense doctrine has a critical weakness. Rodriguez nodded, already considering the implications. Send all combat data to the fleet. It's time to show the collective that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. She opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Thunder Child. First engagement complete. 3 collective vessels destroyed. We found their weakness. Requesting permission to proceed with full tactical deployment of mining vessel conversion program. The response came back immediately, carrying hope for the first time in months. Permission granted, Thunder Child. Show them what humanity can do with a really big hammer. The Battle of Europa. News of Thunder Child's victory spread through the solar system like a shockwave. Within hours, every mining colony from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt had begun converting their industrial equipment into weapons. Humanity had found its edge, and now it was time to sharpen it. 2 weeks after the initial engagement, the collective's response arrived. This time, they didn't send scout ships. A fleet of 30 warships, including 2 World Killer-class vessels, emerged from quantum space near Europa. Their message was clear: humanity's resistance would be met with overwhelming force. Commander Rodriguez stood in Thunder Child's upgraded command center, now joined by the commanders of 5 other converted mining vessels. Each ship had been enhanced based on their experiences, their mining equipment modified into increasingly sophisticated weapons. The original Thunder Child had become the prototype for an entirely new class of warship. The collectives approaching in standard quantum shield formation, Lieutenant Walsh reported from her station. The weapons console had been completely redesigned, incorporating both mining systems and military-grade targeting computers. They're maintaining tight spacing, looks like they're trying to create an overlapping quantum field. They're adapting, Dr. Patel observed from her newly established quantum analysis station. The shield harmonics are different from what we encountered before. They're trying to compensate for kinetic impacts. Sullivan's voice came through the comm from engineering, where he was coordinating with the other ship's technical teams. Doesn't matter how fancy they make their quantum shields. They still can't break the laws of physics. Rodriguez studied the tactical display, noting how the collective fleet had arranged itself. Their previous encounters with humanity had taught them caution, but their fundamental approach remained unchanged. They still believed their advanced technology made them superior. All ships, battle formation Delta, she commanded. Remember your training. They may have quantum shields, but we have Newton's laws on our side. The converted mining fleet moved into position, using Jupiter's magnetic field to mask their approach. Each vessel had been specialized for a specific role, their mining equipment modified in unique ways. The Avalanche, formerly a deep-core extraction vessel, had been equipped with multiple rapid-fire kinetic launchers, designed to overwhelm quantum shields with a barrage of impacts. The Groundbreaker specialized in close-range engagement, its drilling equipment converted into devastating short-range weapons. The Mountain Mover carried the heaviest weapons, capable of delivering impacts that could crack small moons. Collective Fleet is launching quantum probes, Diana announced. They're trying to map our positions. Let them look, Rodriguez replied. Execute Operation Rockslide. The battle began with a demonstration of why humanity had survived countless challenges throughout its history. The mining fleet didn't just attack the collective vessels, they turned space itself into a weapon. Industrial tractor beams, originally designed for moving asteroids, hurled chunks of Europa's ice at relativistic speeds. Mining lasers, repurposed with Sullivan's innovations, created clouds of superheated debris that confused the collective's quantum sensors. The collective fleet's first volley of quantum weapons passed harmlessly through the debris field, their advanced targeting systems unable to distinguish between threats and chaff. The mining fleet's response was far more effective. Thunderchild led the charge, its main hammer array now supplemented with secondary kinetic weapons developed from rock-crushing equipment. Multiple impacts confirmed, Diana called out as the first wave of attacks connected. Their new shield configurations are failing under sustained kinetic bombardment. The battle quickly transformed into a brutal demonstration of physics versus quantum mechanics. The collective's world-killer vessels, each capable of destroying planets, found themselves unable to target the comparatively primitive mining ships effectively. Their quantum weapons, designed to bypass conventional shields, proved nearly useless against vessels that relied on thick armor and predictive movement instead of energy barriers. They're trying to establish a quantum lock on our drive systems, Priya reported, monitoring the enemy's attempts to use their advanced technology. But our engines are too simple, there's nothing for them to lock onto. We're literally too primitive for their weapons to work properly. The tide turned decisively when the Mountain Mover executed its primary attack run. The massive vessel, originally designed for planetary excavation, had been equipped with what Sullivan called the biggest hammer in human history. The impact against the lead world killer's quantum shields created a disruption visible from Earth, the advanced alien vessel literally torn apart by simple kinetic force. Multiple collective vessels attempting emergency quantum jumps, Diana announced, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. Their fleet formation is breaking down. Rodriguez leaned forward in her command chair. Not this time. All ships, execute containment protocol. Show them why they should have paid more attention to basic astronomy. The mining fleet's next move demonstrated humanity's true genius. They didn't just attack the collective ships directly, they used their modified mining equipment to alter the local space around the battlefield. Industrial gravity manipulators, designed for stabilizing asteroids during mining operations, created localized distortions that disrupted the collective's quantum jump calculations. The result was devastating. Several collective vessels, attempting to escape via quantum jump, materialized inside Europa's ice crust. Others found their quantum fields disrupted by the gravitational chaos, their advanced ships torn apart by forces they had considered too primitive to be a threat. Collective fleet is in full retreat, Diana reported. Confirming 17 vessels destroyed, 9 severely damaged. The remaining 4 are withdrawing on conventional drives. A cheer went up across the bridge, but Rodriguez remained focused. Transmit to all human settlements, Operation Rockslide successful. The collective can be beaten. Humanity stands its ground. As the debris of battle drifted against Europa's icy surface, Sullivan's voice came through the calm. You know what this means, Commander. We've just changed the rules of warfare across the entire galaxy. Every primitive species the collective dismissed just got a lesson in how to fight back. Rodriguez nodded, already thinking about the implications. The collective had based their entire civilization on the assumption that quantum technology represented the pinnacle of evolution. They had forgotten that sometimes the most effective solutions were also the simplest. Send word to Earth Command, she ordered. Tell them it's time to begin Phase 2. If the collective wants to see how primitive we can be, let's show them what happens when humanity really starts thinking creatively. The Battle of Europa would later be recognized as the turning point in humanity's war for survival. But more than that, it became a symbol across the galaxy, a reminder that true advancement wasn't about having the most sophisticated technology, but about understanding the fundamental principles of the universe and applying them in innovative ways. A new dawn for galactic civilization. 5 years after the Battle of Europa, Commander Isabella Rodriguez stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly on Mars, representing humanity at the first Interspecies Conference of Primitive Civilizations. The massive chamber, built to accommodate beings from 100 different worlds, buzzed with energy as representatives from species once dismissed by the collective shared their stories of resistance and innovation. The chamber itself stood as a testament to humanity's new approach to technology, a perfect blend of quantum mechanics and basic physics. The building's foundations were secured by massive kinetic dampeners derived from mining equipment, while quantum field generators created translation zones allowing all species to communicate freely. The Thunder Protocol, Rodriguez began her address, wasn't just about turning mining equipment into weapons. It was about remembering that advancement doesn't always mean complexity. Her voice carried across the chamber, translated into dozens of alien languages. The collective's greatest weakness wasn't their technology, it was their assumption that sophistication always trumps simplicity. In the 5 years since humanity had shared their discoveries, a revolution had swept through the galaxy. Species after species had adapted the Thunder Protocol to their own technologies and traditions. The hive minds of Proxima Centauri had modified their crystalline architecture tools into devastating kinetic weapons. The silicon beings of Tau Ceti had transformed their mineral processing arrays into shield-breaking artillery. From her position at the podium, Rodriguez could see Dr. Patel engaged in an animated discussion with a group of quantum physicists from various species. They were developing what they called hybrid theory, a new approach to technology that combined quantum mechanics with classical physics in ways the collective had never imagined. The collective believed that quantum technology represented the peak of evolution, Rodriguez continued. They forgot that the universe operates on multiple levels. Sometimes the most elegant solution isn't the most complex one. In the years following the Battle of Europa, humanity had refined their approach. Thunder Child, preserved as a monument in Earth orbit, had spawned an entire new class of vessels. These ships combined the brute force effectiveness of kinetic weapons with carefully calculated quantum field manipulation. The result was a defense force that could meet the collective on equal terms while maintaining their unique advantages. Sullivan, now director of the Hybrid Technology Initiative, had overseen the integration of these principles into civilian technology. Mining operations were more efficient than ever, using a combination of quantum scanning and traditional physical extraction. Construction projects employed both energy fields and good old-fashioned mechanical engineering. But perhaps the most important lesson, Rodriguez addressed the assembly, wasn't about technology at all. It was about perspective. She gestured to the diverse gathering of species. The collective saw our differences as weaknesses. They couldn't understand that diversity, of thought, of approach, of technology, is the greatest strength any civilization can have. The evidence of this truth surrounded them. The assembly chamber's environmental systems, designed by a coalition of species, demonstrated how different approaches could work in harmony. Quantum environmental fields maintained different atmospheric conditions for various species, while physical barriers and simple air pressure systems provided redundancy and stability. Diana Walsh, who had transitioned from weapons specialist to diplomatic liaison, was working with representatives from dozens of species to establish what they called the Thunder Guard, an interspecies defense force dedicated to protecting developing civilizations from quantum supremacists like the Collective. The Thunder Protocol is more than a military strategy, Rodriguez concluded. It's a philosophy. It reminds us that true advancement isn't about abandoning our foundations, but building upon them. Every civilization here developed tools before they developed quantum mechanics. Those tools, those simple, physical solutions to complex problems, are not primitive. They are the foundation upon which all greater achievements are built. The aftermath of humanity's innovation had reshaped the galaxy's power structure. The Collective, faced with the widespread adoption of the Thunder Protocol, had been forced to reassess their entire civilization. Their recent overtures for peace came not from a position of superiority, but from a recognition that they had much to learn from the species they had once dismissed. As Rodriguez concluded her address, she remembered the first time she had stood on Thunder Child's bridge, watching mining equipment tear through quantum shields. That moment had changed more than the course of a war, it had changed the galaxy's understanding of progress itself. In the spaces between stars, new civilizations were emerging. Young species developing their first technologies would no longer face judgment based on their quantum advancement. Instead, they would find a galaxy that recognized that every approach, every solution, every perspective had value. The legacy of Thunder Child lived on not just in humanity's fleet of hybrid warships or in the Thunder Protocol adopted by dozens of species. It lived on in a fundamental shift in how civilizations viewed progress. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the most advanced solution wasn't the most sophisticated one, sometimes it was just a really big hammer, applied with precision and purpose. As the Assembly moved to ratify the Thunder Accords, a set of principles ensuring technological freedom for all species, Rodriguez couldn't help but smile. Humanity had faced extinction and responded not just with survival, but with innovation that changed the fundamental balance of power in the galaxy. They had reminded everyone that the laws of physics were not primitive, they were the foundation upon which all other advancement depended. The Thunder's echo would continue to resonate through the cosmos, a reminder that true wisdom lay not in complexity, but in understanding when simplicity was the most elegant solution of all.